Hi folks, today I'm going to show you a quick way to remove some stray hairs from an image, and it's probably going to work better than any technique you've ever used before. In the past, like many of you, I have used the spot healing brush to remove stray hairs. Now let me show you how this works. Basically, you cover over a stray hair, and sometimes it works pretty well. However, as you get closer to the person's head, or if you're trying to retouch a clump of hair like this, the spot healing brush doesn't know where to sample from, and you end up with messier hair than you started out with. So let's make our image revert back to its original state. Now I'm going to run an action called a frequency separation action. Now typically frequency separation is used with retouching skin, but it also can be used to remove things from your image that you don't want. And what it's going to do is make two copies of our image. The bottom image is going to have all of the color information. The top image or layer is going to have all of the detail information. Now when we run this action, it's going to stop and ask us, how much blur do we want to add? Well, that depends on the size of your image, and it also depends on what you want to remove from your image. In this particular image, we want to remove this clump of hair and these little stray hairs over here and these stray hairs on this side. So I'm going to turn the blur up until we can no longer see details in those hairs. That's a little too much. So I'm going to say right around 40, 44 pixels. Actually, that looks pretty good. 34 pixels. Okay. I'll hit OK. Now it finishes the action. Now we can actually turn our background layer off because it's no longer needed. Let me show you the two layers that are making up our frequency separation technique. The background is now just the color, and the very top is just the detail of the image. This is the layer we're going to want to work on to get rid of this detail and this detail. So let's turn our background back on. I'm going to use the stamp tool, so I'm going to click S on my keyboard. And I'm going to option click over part of the image that looks nice and smooth. Now the color doesn't matter. All we're thinking about here is the texture. Now if I come over to these stray hairs and paint, it's not going to change the color of anything. It's just removing all of that hair detail. Come over here, option click here, make my brush a little smaller, and paint that right away. So let's take a look at before and after. Here's before, after, and after. I think that looks pretty natural. So let's take a look at another example. Here's a portrait of a child against a gray background that has a vignette around it, and she's got some stray hairs I'd like to clean up. Now, if I use the stamp tool and stamp here and paint it in here, stamp here, paint it in here, you can see that removing the hairs makes the background look terrible. So what we're going to do is use our frequency separation technique again. I'm going to press play and increase the blur until you notice the stray hairs are gone. So we're going to say right there. Now on the detail layer, which is really where the hair detail is, instead of cloning or stamping, what I'm going to do is just erase the detail. So I'm going to press E for eraser. With a soft eraser brush, I'm just going to paint that over any hairs that I want to get rid of. And see how nicely it blends into the background? And there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe.